Hello, everyone out there. Joseph Tudisco here. Just a thought, presenting Acting Like a Business seminar. Today we're going to be conducting session 7, background. A few people have reached out and wanted to know how some of this information helps the background actors, I should say, and 90% of it really doesn't. I must confess that most of the information I have given has been geared to the actor seeking out principal speaking roles in film and TV. But I thought it was a good question, and I want to address background acting. Now, there's a lot of myths about background acting, and hopefully we could address some of them. But let's not forget that background actors make up a good portion of the working actor classification. You can make wonderful amounts of money as a background actor. You can secure your benefits, your health insurance, your pension credits through SAG by being a background actor. And in my opinion, there's nothing wrong about doing background work. Some people will think that industry looks down on it, that casting directors look down on it, that agents look down on it. It's not true most of the time. I myself did about 5 years, a good part of 4 years, 4.5 years of background work back in the late 90s. And I made, back then you used to walk on it, your scale was $102 for the day. And then your overtime and everything else kicked in as background actors are all aware of, right to the minute what you're entitled to. And I made, great amounts of money as a background actor. Got my insurance for quite a few years, pension credits. So the opportunity to be a working actor does exist for background actors. Now there are some positive, and I just mentioned a couple of them. There are some positive things about being background, and there's also some negative items about background, which I'll get into it. And when I say negative, I mean, if it's not negative to you, then it's not negative to you. So don't worry about what other people think. It's what you want to achieve in this business. Now, there's pretty much 2 categories of background. You have the non-union background and the union background. Union background, of course, they make much more money, and they are treated a little nicer than the non-union background. I hear a lot of times a non-union wants to know why they're being treated in such a fashion. I mean, they are the bottom of the pecking order, to say. And SAG really can't do anything for you because you're a non-member. SAG will not spend union dollars to negotiate contracts for non-union members who aren't paying dues. So you have to understand the legality of it, and you have to understand the union end of that, why they don't get involved more. Sometimes non-union actors will work for, $70, $75, $50 for 8 hours, $75 for 10. Overtime is additional, dollars instead of time and a half or double time, which union actors will get. It's really non-union actors. You're really paying your dues, and it's not a very comfortable situation. I think the reason why non-union actors do it is, do background is because there is an opportunity to get what they call waivers, and I'll go into that, and get your SAG eligibility, so then you could work background as a union actor. But keep in mind, once you do that, you will probably have less projects that you will be called in on, but you certainly will make more money when you do work. So, you have to choose your poison. But I think there does come a point where a non-union actor, if they fall into a certain category of waivers, need to join before they can work again. They would be a must join. I've been out of it for so long. Back in the 90s when I did background work, it was a different animal. It was just a whole different approach, a whole different scenario to background work. We worked all the time. I think today they have to circle or circulate different actors in on different projects on different days to try and give everyone ample amount of background work. I'm not sure if that's a fact or not, but that's what I hear. I'm just so far removed from background. As far as the contracts and the items that are stipulated in the collective bargaining agreement. But I do know the philosophy and I do know the mentality behind it. So, being a non-union actor and doing background, it's a way that you can get your foot in the door, make a few dollars, and be on set. Union background, people, they have no problem doing it, some actors. It's what they want to do. It's what they pursue. And that's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong in it. You can make a decent living and get your benefits and just work, all the time. But the negative part of being background, I remember they used to say, "Oh, don't be back. Don't let them know you're doing background. They'll never cast you or bring you in for a speaking role." That's a myth. I back in '99, I booked a speaking role, being brought in by my manager at the time to read for a role, and I had just done background work on the previous episode, like a week before. So for me personally, that was just a myth. I was able to do it. I did a lot of law and order background. I was like a cop all the time. I had a cop uniform, and I went down that mentality. And I've booked several, 4 or 5 different episodes on all the different 3 law and orders as principal. So it's a myth. But I will say one thing: if you get caught being featured on a TV show, an episodic, as background, then you will have a problem. I for one, when I was making the transition between the background and principal work, I had just signed with an agent. I had just booked a Law and Order, and I decided to do background on a criminal intent episode. And well, I got featured. I was partnered up with the principal actor. We would buying stolen jewels, and he couldn't operate. The loop that I should do this way, right? The loop that they use in the prongs that hold the diamond would pop out, the loop would fall. He just couldn't do it. So the director asked me if I could do it, and I never did it before, but yeah, sure, I could do that. And I did, and they featured me up. I mean, they gave me, 2 or 3 really close-up, that far away from being principal. I got a bump, I didn't get upgraded. A bump is when they give you extra money for the day. Has nothing to do with upgrading or anything of that. And about 3 or 4 days after I did that, my agent called me and said, "Joe, what are you doing?" I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Did you do background work on criminal intent?" I said, "Yeah, I did." She goes, "What are you doing?" She says, "I'm trying to push you to get you a speaking role. You're doing background. They can't use you now for the whole season because they've seen you. You've been prominently featured. Now, if you want to do background work, fine. You don't need me." Well, she just read me the riot act, and it started to sink in at that point. So those things can happen to you. Background, if you're doing film work, no problem. If you're on the episodics and you have an idea of wanting to pursue the speaking roles, especially if you're doing it, together with the background work, try and stay, no pun intended, try and stay in the background of the background. And try not to get featured. Keep a low profile. It'll help you, or it could hurt you. Now, one other situation that can kind of work against you if you're doing a lot of background is the idea that this is what we pursue. We get what we ask for. So if all our efforts are put into looking for background work, and because we're successful at it and we're making money at it, which of course makes sense to continue it, and that's where all our efforts are going to, then that's what you get. I know I had run into a couple of situations when I was either on set or I had already worked 2 days and I needed to, and I was booked for 3 or 4 days on background, and I was able to get an audition. I couldn't go on it. Or if I was on set sometimes and they wanted to see. I remember one time they called me, I was on set, they wanted to see me in the afternoon, and I just couldn't go. And it really worked against my sensibilities as to, working towards trying to be a principal actor. So those were a couple of things that really sort of pushed me out the door. We as background actors, we get stuck. Sometimes you can get stuck right in the middle of that whole process, and there you stay. And it wasn't for me, it's not an easy process to cut the ties. It was kind of a weaning off process for me. I was trying to do both, but I was getting caught in certain situations, and I just really had to go cold turkey and stop. Okay, especially after the situation with the criminal intent, and my agent had read me the riot act, and I realized, yeah, that makes sense. And you go, well, what's the difference? Well, the difference is if you're working with an agent, and I'll get into this when we get to agents and managers and casting directors in a couple of sessions, they have to make money too. If you turn down jobs or opportunities for jobs, and you do that more than enough times, you're done. I'll be honest with you, they will drop you like a hot potato. And most agents and managers will tell you not to do background work because of that situation, and because sometimes you get stuck, as I did, as I kind of explained to you. And casting directors, if there are casting directors who are doing principal casting and they call you in for something, whether it's through an agent or manager or through yourself, your own submissions, and you turn them down a number of times, they'll just cross you right off. They don't, you know what? They don't need you. They don't need you to come in and read for 2 or 3 lines. So if it's something you want to do and it's something you want to stay with the background work, then that's fine. Nothing wrong in it. You do it, pursue it, book, work, and if you're happy with it, that's great. But if you have aspirations of moving on, you have to know when to cut those ties. Okay, and it'll present itself and you'll know. Now, the other advantage doing background work is you're on set. Number one, you're getting familiar with the lingo. You're getting familiar with the camera movement. And especially, I used to enjoy if I was sitting there watching the principal actors rehearse and work. And I always thought, I could do that. I could do that. You get on set and you realize it's a difficult process. I mean, everything is out of whack, out of sequence for them. Concentration is there, and you see how they work and how they work the camera, and it's an education in its own right. So if you are doing background, certainly pay attention to that. Don't go off in the corner and sleep if you can sort of be on set and watch what's going on. It's very, very valuable. Now, commercial background, of course, is you start off 3 times the amount of money right off the bat, and you have a bigger opportunity to be upgraded in commercials as background, because the itinerary to be upgraded is different. In film and TV, 99.9999999999% of the time you have to speak a word, and you have to be directed to speak. You can't just offer it. If you're coming in a room and they tell you, just wave at the actor who's passing by, and you go, "Hey, Johnny," and you just throw that out, you lost that. That's theirs, and you're not going to get upgraded. On commercials, it's about, naturally, if you get a line, you'll get upgraded. And if you featured, there's a certain formula where time-wise, if you're featured, a certain amount of people who are in the shot or with the product or in that aspect, you can get upgraded. You can make a lot of money doing a commercial. You make a lot of money if you get upgraded. Your residuals never end if the commercial runs. Whereas, just as background, you're just going to get paid for the day. Residuals is a whole other topic. I'll deal with that later on. So this is the deal with the background actors. There's a place for it. It's needed in the industry. It shouldn't be poo-pooed on. It really shouldn't be. It's such a valuable asset to the film industry. And, we hear, when I was doing background, I don't know how it is today. Everybody was, you had the disgruntled actor in the corner complaining about everything. Oh, we had 3 minutes. Oh, you broke us, you didn't break us. We got 4 minutes. Sure, now we're not getting the lunch penalty. And you can go on and on and on and drive yourself nuts. I was certainly guilty of that. I knew all the rules, all the time frames, and I kept track of all my money. And you should. You should. But understand, it's a business, and they're going to be on one end and you're going to be on the other. Don't be a problem. Do your job as a background actor. Stay focused. There are some agencies now that just deal with background. So if you're non-union, or if you are union trying to get into making some money as background, look it up online. Central Casting is one. Grant Wilfley has been around when I was doing background work. You can go online and search background casting directors, New York City, and you can get a whole list, submit your headshots, and that's for non-union and union. I believe the number's 25 now, where the union has to have 25 union actors on feature films before they can bring in non-union. And that's why sometimes you see, if they have crowd scene, they bring in, 100 or 200 non-union, and they have 25 union actors. If you are a non-union actor, you can get eligibility into the union if you get 3 waivers, and sometimes they'll give you a waiver if you can have a certain skill. Let's say they need to put a basketball team on the field in the background, and they need guys, 6'10", 6'11", and they can't find them, with the union actors. They can bring you in if you, let's say you're 7 foot and they like your height and your look, and you maybe have a little basketball skills. They'll give you a waiver. They'll pay you said wages for the day. You're a union actor for that day, and that day only. You get contributions to your health and pension, and you're treated at whatever is in the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, you will get. I believe if you accumulate 3 of those, you are now eligible to join SAG, and now you can work as a union background actor. Another way is with that number 25 of union actors. If one person doesn't show, and it happens, they are required to pay 25 union actors to be background. So if 1 or 2 people don't show, they will get and grab 2 non-union actors and give them waivers and bump them up to a union scale for the day. And as a background actor, if you get upgraded, where they're going to throw you a line for whatever reason, you will get a day player contract more than likely, and you may or may not get a credit at the end, but it doesn't matter. You'll still get residuals, and you'll still get paid scale for day player for the day. Anytime a non-union actor gets upgraded with lines, you automatically get a contract. You are automatically eligible to join the union. So all you background actors out there, use it to your advantage. Don't be ashamed of it. It's okay. I mean, it's okay. I don't know why people get so nuts about being. That was an extra. You don't have to break. You have to go out and tell the world, but it's what you do. And it's a very needed item, and some people are really, really good at it. So continued success, make money. You are a working actor. If you are background and you make the money that we talked about earlier, you are considered a working actor. So with that, I think I'm going to finish up. Hopefully I've addressed some of the questions that people have asked me on Facebook Acting Like a Business page. And that's a wrap.